A good Samaritan is facing assault allegations for trying to help someone. We need the details.
I mean, it makes you think again before helping someone. So this is an online community story, but a real life story.
Yes.
So this writer said that about this time last year, he was on a bus when he saw a man in his 20s and an older man in about his 80s get into an argument. But then the young guy started to punch the old guy, which is when the writer intervened.
Okay.
So in that process, the young man punched the writer in the face. He sustained a fractured nose, and the older man also sustained some injuries. But here's the thing. Everyone's been booked for assault.
Everyone.
All three of them, including the man in his 80s. So specifically, apparently the writer grabbed onto the younger man's leg, and that was considered assault. So he was ordered to a summary judgment, 약식명령, of 1 million won in fines.
Wow. So this does raise questions about what constitutes self-defense in South Korea.
Which is very controversial, and we've done interviews on this. So this is 정당 방위. So legally, these are actions done to prevent or defend against one unjustified infringement against one's rights or someone else's legal rights.
Yes.
However, in reality, this interpretation of the law is done very narrowly. It is just eye for an eye, specifically, nothing more. So, for example, let's say one attorney has said that even when someone's coming at you with a knife, legally it's okay to use your fist to make that person drop the knife, but not to punch that person, or you cannot take that weapon to attack back. So as long as that imminent absolute threat is gone, you can't do anything else to qualify for self-defense.
For now, we're going to move on. This next story is about why we shouldn't do things we're told not to do.
Rule number 1 in museums, don't touch stuff.
Isn't that like an unspoken rule?
Right.
Right?
Don't touch stuff, right? What's so hard about it?
Right.
Also, don't sit on stuff. So this is in Italy. Local Italian outlets reported that a tourist, a man, sat on a piece of art. It's the chair from Van Gogh's paintings, reimagined with reportedly hundreds of Swarovski crystals. So the art itself was created by Italian artist Nicola Bolla, housed in a museum in Verona. So you see in that visual that we have on our YouTube page, this man, he squats over the chair. We don't know if he actually tried to sit on it, but he loses balance and then just kind of plops down on it.
He breaks it.
It just breaks. It gives up underneath him. Well, what do? Instead of reporting it to the authorities, they just booked it out of there. They ran.
Like literally?
Literally. So this is how we get the image, because the museum, because there are security cameras, they thought because the security guard had stepped out of the room, this is when it ensued. However, cameras. And they posted the images online and said, every museum's nightmare has become reality.
Right.
An irresponsible gesture caused serious damage to the work. We are sharing this episode not only for the sake of reporting, but to start a campaign to raise awareness about the value of art and the respect it deserves. Thankfully, the chair was restored. And, right now it's unclear if the couple would be held responsible if they can catch them. I know.
That's so terrible.
Right.
Just don't.
Oh, by the way, that chair, of course, had signs, do not touch. This was not an interactive experience. Some museums are. This wasn't.
Yes. Oof. All right. We're going to move on to our next story. And this goes hand in hand with our text topic. I mean, it is very common. I have shared, my stories as well during the holidays or family gatherings for people to play a game or even two of the all, famous 고스톱 or go stop, right? And there's a little money involved for some people, right? The question is this considered gambling?
Right. Where's the line? So gambling is illegal in South Korea unless you go to very specified locations. However, what is, pray tell, gambling?
What is?
Depends on how much you bet, which is our question.
Yes.
So a court case, and yes, it did go all the way up to the court, involving an elderly man who was charged with gambling for playing hwatu, the flower cards, or 고스톱, go stop, with three of his neighbors for money. The defendant is a 69-year-old man in Kunsan. He was indicted a couple years ago. It was a standard game. If you don't know the rules, it's It's complicated.
It's
I never
very
really know.
complicated.
You match the pictures basically, but once you get 3 points, you can either choose to stop, at which point you win, or go. But then if you decide to go, the losers, there's a chance they might keep losing,
Yes.
thus you kind of doubling, tripling your earnings. And also, well, how much? Because I said how much is key.
Yes.
It was 점당 100원.
Oh, 100원?
Very standard.
Right.
100 won per point. The entire pool of money was a little over 108,000 won. And the four of them, the members, made a deal. The winner needs to put money towards their chicken and beer fund. So it was all in good fun, it seems. They played for about 15 minutes. So the first court considered, well, that's not gambling. It wasn't, it wasn't speculative. No one benefited unjustly.
Sure.
However, the prosecution basically appealed the case, saying because this particular defendant had priors, and the game was only stopped because the police intervened. But the appeals court said, again, no, doesn't matter. So now we have the ruling on
Yes.
the social convention. If it is only about 100 won per point,
It's okay?
it's okay.
Right, but still, let's be careful.
Right.
Yes.
You don't want to cross the line.
No.
But yes.
And we don't want to test the courts. All right, let's move on. This is a baffling case of a medical malpractice suit brewing.
So a young woman in her 30s, was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Okay.
Had at least, it seems, a partial mastectomy. She had a small part of her breast removed. And then it turns out she didn't have breast cancer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so this is according to an MB and a KBS report. So this woman went and had a physical at a medical center in Sejong City. Her biopsy showed that she had a malignant tumor on her breast. And then the doctor told her because she is young, the cancer would spread faster. So they need to get on it right away. She said she broke down crying when she received her diagnosis.
Okay.
And then she went and had a biopsy, got a second opinion, as people often do, at a hospital in Seoul. But here they said we're not detecting cancer cells.
Okay.
But she wound up getting what's called a lumpectomy, which is she cut out, or the doctors had cut out about 6 centimeters of the breast tissue, and she had to go under general anesthesia. So she had full out surgery.
Yes.
However, that was the only course of treatment that she was suggested to do. Turns out the tissue wasn't cancerous. It was just what's called a fibroadenoma, a very common phenomenon, a very common condition that younger women apparently have.
So the question is this. Was it a case of simple misdiagnosis, or were there other factors in play?
So the sample that the first hospital had tested definitely has cancer.
Oh, okay.
It just wasn't her sample.
No.
Yeah.
They switched?
It got switched.
Okay.
So this hospital in Sejong, it has a contract with a different medical center, which is responsible for running the test.
Okay.
Apparently, there was a labeling issue, and the samples got switched from the woman who got tested the day before.
Okay.
So this woman, the woman who had a lumpectomy, was apparently getting ready to try to have a baby. I mean, her life was turned upside down. She went under general surgery and now is apparently undergoing psychiatric care. She's getting ready to sue the hospital and the test center, thus the medical malpractice suit.
Yes.
But then as for the woman whose sample did belong to, she has breast cancer. She was told that her screens were clear 3 months ago. Oh, no. So, I mean, she did waste 3 months in the time that she could have been getting treatment.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
That's a doozy as well. I mean, all these stories. Unfortunate. Well, this next story, this is an interesting court case. If you steal something that was stolen, is it theft?
Yeah. What? It kind of goes back to kind of a car theft story. A husband who is separated from his wife towed the rental car that his wife was driving because it was rented under his name.
Oh, gosh.
Is that theft? Short
Is
answer,
it?
yes.
It is?
It is.
Oh.
According to this court case, very specific case back in 2023, the husband called a tow truck on a vehicle that was parked at an apartment. He had rented his car. He had rented the car, but his wife, separated, was driving it. They had parted on bad terms to the point where she was sentenced to 1.5 years in prison on a 3-year probation for assault against him. The court, both the original and appeals court, found him guilty of theft. Here's the legalese of it.
Okay.
The husband's counsel attorneys argued that the car was in his ownership because he had rented it and paid for it.
Okay.
So the wife had only been in temporary possession. So he didn't intend to steal the vehicle, but even if he did, he would be justified because it's his.
It's under his name.
It's under his name. But here's the key.
Uh-huh.
Although the wife being in possession of the vehicle may not have been legal, as long as she was in actual possession, she would be subject to protection under the law.
Ownership protection.
Right.
Oh.
Right. So the judge said basically the gist of it, if someone steals a stolen item from the first thief, then that too is an act of theft.
So now we know.
Yeah.
Now we know. So be careful.
Right.
That's all we can say. We're going to call it a wrap for all the Waglwagle news, and we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.